did talk about other things. But yes, we are live. Now, Lever Sage, Tanner Ryle, and look who is with us, Zach McGibbon, all the way from Belleville, Ontario. The Ottawa Senators, folks, in Nashville to take on the Predators before they come home for a very, very big weekend of hockey. Always great to see you, Tanner. How are you?
Pretty good. Ready for a bit of a later start here at 8 p.m., but got a coffee on the go. I'm ready. Break it down. Big game with the Preds.
Zach, that sounds very much like Tanner's older than what he is. An 8 o'clock start. This is not a 10:30 West Coast start. This is an 8 o'clock start. Tanner's ready for bed already. Okay. Should be a real good, this is overtime show. But Zach McGibbon, all the way from Belleville, covers the Belleville Senators, was up doing the game at the CTC last week. It's great to have you on the program, Zach, and away from the wrestling and into real sports.
Yeah, that's right. Looking forward to it. Yeah, I've been watching along and taking part in the streams whenever I can and in the chat. Now I'm actually here on the broadcast, and it's very excited to hop on. I'm going to try and give all the energy I've got because there's a lot of This Is Wrestling content coming your way in the next little bit for all the wrestling fans that are tuned in. But I am here to provide some takes as best as I can. And it was funny hearing Tanner saying a later start to the game. I thought he was referencing the later start to the pregame. And I was being brought out here to be, publicly shamed for laying the start of the pregame show on This Is OSN.
Well, it's nice for you to take some of that blame. I will shoulder that responsibility. I was not on time with some other priorities as Tanner was there. But I mean, I think people like Ethan can understand why the time got away from us. We had to secure a WWE legend. And that's why
I appreciate it. In the words of a great man, I appreciate you both apologizing because the apology needs to be louder than the disrespect.
Oh, yes. Yes. So that's to answer the other question that Ethan has in the chat. What was creatively bankrupt this week? I will continue to say CM Punk as well is creatively bankrupt. So that's going to be the one this week. So hopefully nothing for the Ottawa Sens coming into the Preds game tonight. Hopefully there's nothing creatively bankrupt when it comes to their game plan.
Well, other than the fact Tanner is calling them the Ottawa Sens. I don't know about that terminology from a guy who covers the team, but
maybe it flies in Belleville, but we don't do that here in the big city with the NHL club.
That's right. We call
I'm
them
already
the
getting
Senators.
big leagued here, am I? Is that what's happening here?
No, you and Bob Cole call them the Ottawa Sens.
Yeah. I'm so used to saying the B Sens, so maybe that's where it's kind of rubbed off from living in Belleville for so long now.
All right. Speaking of Tanner, we have a team right now that probably feels decent about themselves after picking themselves up off the mat on Tuesday. And I think this team also understands what's ahead of them after tonight. And that includes Carolina and Vegas and Colorado in your next 3 games. How important, I mean, every game important, but do you think the players understand the importance tonight, Tanner, of making sure they come away with 2 points in Nashville before they come home for that stretch?
I would certainly hope so, Lee. I mean, you got to win the winnables, and this is a very winnable game for the Ottawa Senators. They need to have as many points and as much momentum going into this weekend as possible. And I know you and I sat here on Monday night and we said that we're going to know what this team is after that stretch. And I still believe that. I don't think I'm putting as much stock into this game as, say, the games on the weekend against the true Stanley Cup contenders. But this team needs to beat the winnable teams. And they've done that so far this month with the likes of the Rangers, the Canucks, the Winnipeg Jets. I'd say Nashville is a step up from those teams, but it's not one that's really going to move the needle, in my opinion, of this team and their playoff chances. But you got to beat these teams if you want to have a chance at making the playoffs.
And for the Nashville Predators, Zach, they lost to the Buffalo Sabres at home on Tuesday night. So you have to think that Nashville, who's kind of right there in the Western playoff race, is looking at Ottawa the same way that Ottawa's looking at them. Like, we need these couple of points against the Ottawa Senators if we're going to do anything and make sure that we stay in the race in the West. So this is one of those games that if you look at the standings, it doesn't look like a premier matchup, but you know both teams really need these points.
Yeah, especially as, you know, it's hard to believe already, but we're more than midway through January and these games start to pile up fast and you start the conversations of trying to get these much needed points over the next little bit. So it might seem not much right now. In the case of the Ottawa Senators, as it's been described to me, in the case of the Ottawa Senators,
their real name has been described to you. Yeah.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
In case of them, you know, we've seen the last little stretch here. We saw James Reimer look really solid. I could tell you just from watching a bit of the game after the Sens game was over, I was down watching the television there and seeing Reimer, and I thought he looked solid for what he was. I was a little concerned when he had his initial start there in Belleville. I was there at that game, and there were a couple of shots that he let in that I was like, man, this is just similar to what we've been seeing with the goaltending issues from the big club. So if that's what we're seeing on the AHL level with James Reimer down here, I can only imagine what's going to look like up in the big club. But so far, he's looked pretty calm. And like what Tanner has been preaching on this show each and every time is that we just need a 900 save percentage. Just stop the puck, tend the goal, you know, and just make the saves that you need to make. And James Reimer has brought that so far. So Tanner, I think that's where.
Sorry, Zach. I don't mean to interrupt you, but Tanner, could you just ask Zach who we is, and then we can continue?
Oh, I got caught in that trap too. Oh man, this is what 3 hours of recording does to you, Lee.
No, listen, the people watching right now have no idea what you were doing beforehand, and we cannot call them we. Okay,
right. The Ottawa Senators.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah. I'm sorry to figure it out.
Tanner's like, thank God Lee's got another guy to pick on here.
Maybe I can slide some under the radar here.
By the way, Lee, genuinely not being facetious, I love the pink. Best thing about that from Ethan is that he actually has to say he's not being facetious because most of the time he is facetious. So when he's not being, he has to state it in his chat, which Ethan, we do appreciate. Now, Tanner, some of the Sens news today, David Perron, 5 to 7 weeks sports hernia going to be out. And I think sometimes when people hear that, like, this to me is one of those, okay, this is the time to do it, because where does 5 to 7 weeks end up? Well, it ends up after the Olympics and able to come back. So yes, it's a stretch of time that he's going to miss, but like 5 to 7 weeks in the middle of October is like literally almost 2 months of straight hockey. That's really important. Here you get a 2.5 week break, but still David Perron out of the lineup 5 to 7 weeks. What do you think that means for the rest of the group?
Yeah, like you mentioned, probably the best time, considering 3 out of those weeks plus are going to be taken up by the Olympic break. Now, Perron, we've seen him a little bit lower in the lineup the last number of games. Ridley Gregg has been elevated a bit more. Travis Green did mention this is something that's been nagging Perron, and I wonder if maybe some of his struggles are reflective of that. We've seen him contributing a little bit less, taking more minor penalties that typically you wouldn't really see from Perron. Now, that's not to say he hasn't been effective analytically. His line with Eller and Cousins has been one of the best in the NHL when they're put together, albeit against some weaker competition and lower ice times. But it is unfortunate. It definitely hurts Ottawa's depth a little bit, but at the same time, it gives an opportunity to one Stephen Halliday, who I think has more than earned the right to be playing in the NHL right now.
Speaking of Stephen Halliday, Zach, of course, you covered the Belleville Senators and are around on a regular basis. People have seen Stephen Halliday in the lineup before, but I think it's important to either let people know or reiterate the fact of what kind of player Stephen Halliday is and how he can be effective in the Ottawa lineup, as opposed to, if people just say, oh, it's just a call up from Belleville. And yeah, he's going to go on the fourth line and he'll be, Stephen Halliday might not be that type of player. So maybe let fans know exactly what to expect from a guy like Stephen Halliday on a regular basis, what you've seen so far in Belleville.
he's a playmaker whenever he's down there in Belleville. They put him up on the top line, and he's not going to be somebody that goes out there and scores a lot of goals, and you kind of see that on the stat sheet. That's not really what you see with Stephen Halliday when he's down there playing in Belleville. He's more of a distributor. And when I saw back at the CTC this past Sunday, is that, and Ethan Fink also agreeing with that, but that's what you see a lot of that in Belleville up on that top line, is that he's somebody that tries to find space. There was one play during that game against the Utica Comets this past Sunday where it was a little bit too much of dishing and not enough of, okay, you've got an open look here. Let's try and get it, blocker side and try and get a shot off. But he's somebody that's going to look and find the corners, find the space. He's going to look to the slot a lot when it comes to his passes. And he's always going to look to try and dish it. And that's what's really made him stand out. It's funny, when he got called up to the NHL, he was on a point streak when he got called up. He gets the 1 month or whatever he was with the Ottawa Senators, and then gets called back down, and then he just continues his point streak in Belleville. It's like he never left. And when I was calling him this past Sunday, he was on a 7-game point streak, and that was a continuation from the previous point streak that he was on before he got called up to the NHL. So he's just got some great stick handling too when he enters the zone. So he's somebody that, if you were a listener to This Is Wrestling, he was somebody that I called and said he's going to be the next big call up, and he's going to be somebody that's going to get a lot of looks, because when he debuted in Belleville at the start, it seemed like he was having a tough transition from playing in college at Ohio State. He looked like he was having a little bit of a tough time transitioning into the pro level game. It was a lot quicker for him, but that playoff run that he had for the Belleville Sens, that's when he really kind of came into his own and really formed as a player. And this year, you can see with the Belleville Sens right now, they've been playing a lot of extra ice, extra time. There's been a lot of overtime and shootouts for the Belleville Sens in recent games, but he's been somebody that's been such a contributor whenever he goes out on the ice. So I love that he's out there and he's getting some more playing time with the Ottawa Senators.
Ethan back in. Zach, am I wrong to say also has a great puck read? I found he's good on both ends of the ice at predicting where the puck will be and either getting his stick in the lane or getting it out.
Yes, I would agree with that too. He's very good at reading how the play is looking when he enters into the zone and determining where to go from there. So yeah, he's very good. Like when he has the puck on his stick, he really is somebody that can, he's very smart with it. And it's good to see for somebody that young too, that he's able to, make the right reads. So yeah, there's really a lot to like about Stephen Halliday's game. And it wouldn't shock me if, next year he becomes somebody that's more of a solidified part of the roster, whether it be in that third or fourth line, or even moving up. Like, I think there were a couple of games when he was called up to the Ottawa Sens that I wanted to see him take a quick look into the second line, see what he can do with some of the other guys and see if he's got chemistry with the other guys. But I think they're just taking their time with him and make sure they're not rushing him in too quickly. But there's a lot to like about Stephen Halliday.
One thing I'm interested in with him tonight is he's also drawing in instead of Perron rather than Lars Eller. Yep. And he's a natural center, so not getting to play at that position. He'll be on the right wing. Like, I do wonder, looking at the long term for this NHL team, they have so much center depth with Stützle, with Cousins, with Pinto, with Greg even. It might be hard for him to carve out a role as a top 9 player if he's going to be a center. So I'm wondering how he looks at the wing. Maybe long term we see him more as a right winger than a center who maybe takes the odd draw. But that's definitely one thing I'm interested in seeing from his game here tonight.
I haven't seen him play the wing too much down in Belleville. Again, they really like to have him as the top line center. So I can't really give you a great analysis of how he's looked along the wing, but I could just tell you as a center, he's done a good job of distributing the puck. And I think that's just what you need from a guy like him.
Yeah. So, and look, I know that you guys know this, but I think for a lot of people listening, you get caught up a little bit in he's playing center, he's playing wing, and it becomes more of, first man in and second man in and, where you're going in the zones. Yes, you take the draws and if you're the center for sure, but the Sens often mix that up anyway, depending on what side of the ice that they're on. But Tanner, you raise a really good point because it was, the point I was going to bring up. So it must have been really good. To think about does he have a long-term future in Ottawa? He does not at the center position. Like, he simply does not if they keep everybody, and we're assuming that they're going to. So, yes, you can put other guys over to the wing, but he's also not a fourth line guy. So, can you play wing effectively? And to me, that's yes, I can get the puck out along the sideboards, which is like the toughest thing to do as a winger, to make a good play when that puck gets either rimmed around or put up to you and you don't have a lot of time and space to do it. Can I get up there and support some of the other players in the rush? And can I do so where no matter where I am on the ice, can I understand that there's two guys in already and I need to play the defensive conscious. I need to be that third high guy. I need to do what Travis Green is asking me to do, regardless of whether I'm taking the draw or not. I think that is something that's going to trickle down to the AHL, and whether you see him either stay at center and take draws or you see him move to the wing, I think you're going to see a little bit of a transition from him to see, can he do the board work? Can he improve his game in some of the areas? Because eventually, if he gets here, he's going to be in a top 9 spot on the wing. That is where Stephen Halliday, to your point, Tanner, is going to be. Because if he's not, he's really not going to be an effective player for the team. So I think Zach, especially watching him in Belleville, becomes one of those, like, understanding what the coach is asking and understanding, can you transition to make that next step? And that's what good organizations do.
Yep.
Put guys in positions like that to succeed long term, because I just can't see him being a fourth line guy.
And maybe you look at a guy like Ridley Gregg as the template for him. Ridley Gregg primarily playing at center, more of a natural center, but we've seen him on the left wing. Right now, he's on the right side playing with Tkachuk and Cousins on a really nice second line. Maybe long term, we see him as a third line right winger or something like that. And then when a Pinto gets injured or something, you just slide Stephen Halliday over.
Yeah, because you can never have enough guys who know how to take draws on your team, right? Even like if you're stronger on one side than the other, you can never have enough. We see Brady taking draws, right? We know Brady's not a centerman. Brady takes draws. So you never have enough guys that do that, but can you kind of work your way into the system? And I think that this is another good one here from Ethan Zach. Says, why do we think Halliday gets the call over someone like Kaliev, who leads the American Hockey League in points right now? So what would you say to that?
I think with Kaliev, what I've seen from him is that his skating isn't amazing whenever he's out there. He's not the greatest skater in the world. He's a very good shooter, as you have mentioned. One of the things about him is that when he has the puck on his stick, he just shoots the puck. He doesn't really go and distributes or try and create a play. He's always a high volume shooter. So I think with Kaliev, I think he's in a good spot right now. And plus, he was on that top line there with Halliday. And when you have somebody that's a distributor and you have another guy that's more of the high volume shooter, and you've got that duo kind of working on your top line, it certainly benefits. But in the case of Kaliev, I found his skating to be not bad, but there's a reason why he's not called up into the NHL right now, is because I don't think he's got that NHL consistent everyday skating that you hope for. But he's got a good stick, and he just has a tough time coming back to the other end of the zone as well. So, but it is a good question to ask, because he's the top points getter in the AHL right now. He was just named an all-star this year for the Belleville Senators. So it's certainly somebody to look at. But I don't think it's a much need with this team in terms of his skill set. I think they're just fine with what they've got right now in terms of their forward core that's up there right now.
I think he's more of a Travis Green player than Arthur Kaliev as well.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment too.
So what do you mean by that?
Just more defensively sound, better skater. I think Halliday's a much better two-way player than Arthur Kaliev. Yes. I don't think that's a very hot take. And still bringing that offensive game. Like we saw Halliday get some looks on the second power play unit. Could happen again tonight. Maybe if one of the other guys are struggling out there.
And to give like a comparison, Igor Sokolov was in the AHL system for quite a while, and he was somebody that could produce in the AHL, but he never really got the call up. And that was because when you watch Sokolov play, he's not the greatest skater in the world. And that does matter when you're trying to play, NHL hockey, is that you've got to be able to come up with a rush. And AHL hockey can do a good job because there are obviously guys that have been called up into the NHL and could play at that level. But when you have to do it every day in terms of pace of play and the skating, and you've got these guys that are super skilled in the NHL, skating does become a factor. So that's kind of the comp I think of in terms of skating ability. And that's why Sokolov never really got out of the system, because he had ability in terms of he had some good hands. He could play the puck pretty well, but that was really the main reason why he wasn't really called up into the bigs, is just because he just wasn't the greatest skater in the world.
Well, and look, if Kaliev is ever going to get a shot, I can promise you, with a guy with his skills, and you guys have been talking about it, and you're not wrong, it will be a home game. It would not be a game that Travis Green's got to put his line on first, and then the other team can counter, because you are going to put him in, if you call him up and he's not a great skater, and you know that, but he can shoot the puck and he's got some skill, you're starting him in offensive zone faceoffs, and you're starting him against other teams' lines that are not that quick. And though you are picking your spots with him to try to have some success, you are not going into a road game that you need 2 points and the other team's feasting on, oh my God, Kaliev's out there, he can't skate, so we're going to put our fastest line out there and we're going to bury him. So that's what happens. That's coaching. And we don't talk about moves like that all the time, but it's all about matchups and trying to get your guys on when you're the home team, trying to get your guys on against other matchups that aren't great. And Kaliev, unfortunately, presents an option at the National Hockey League level for any team that's got some really quick guys that he's going to really suffer. So don't put him in a position like that if you're Ottawa. So to your point, Tanner, Stephen Halliday, I think, fits a lot more into what's going on right now. We know that James Reimer going to start in goal again here tonight. And what are you looking for, Tanner, with the lines? Not a ton of mix up here.
Yeah, actually, Halliday is the one change in these lines. They're running back what they had against Columbus. Got a feel for Halliday, just getting to miss out on playing against his Ohio State there. I think he tells everybody, I hear he's quite the big Ohio State guy, still rocks the gear in Belleville.
Yeah, but he does have some Ohio State insignia around. OHIO, Tanner. You got to represent the Buckeyes.
But the lines are very unchanged. We got Zetterlund, Stützle, Batherson is your top line. Once again, Tkachuk, Cousins, Gregg. The second line, I've really enjoyed them as of late. The very reliable Amadio, Pinto, Giroux. And then, of course, Cousins, Eller, Halliday, which we've just dissected a little bit. On the back end, again, things are unchanged. Matt and Paolo is once again sitting. So you've got Sanderson, Zub, Shabbat, Jensen, Clevin, Spence. As Lee mentioned, James Reimer gets the start. Hunter Shepard is backing up. So no Linus Allmark quite yet, as we were talking about earlier in the week. Probably would have been a good game to get him in if you thought he was going to play this weekend, but read into it however much you will.
Yeah. The only thing I can read into it from the 26-minute interview that we talked about, Tanner, earlier, was that he said in that interview, I'm not that close. And exactly. If he wasn't going to be in to me on Tuesday, he's going to be nowhere near the Carolina Hurricanes and the Vegas Golden Knights and the Colorado Avalanche. I can promise you he's not. That would not be doing anybody any favors at that point. Oh, look who's in. Eric is in, just tuning in, was watching the Habs. Love your toque, Lee. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
This isn't a Habs pregame show, so there's that, Eric, but
good chance to look at the out-of-town scoreboard. The Habs aren't doing too well right now.
Maybe that's why he's here.
Down to 2-0 at the end of one to the Buffalo Sabres. Not a great scoreboard here for Ottawa, as the Boston Bruins have a 3-0 lead on Vegas at the end of one. That's a little bit surprising, but the Boston Bruins currently sit in that second wild card spot, 1 point ahead of the Leafs, 2 points or 3 points ahead of the Flyers, 4 ahead of the Devils and the Capitals, and 5 ahead of the Panthers and the Senators, who, by the way, with this week of action, have gotten themselves all the way up on Money Puck back into the 40 percentile to make the playoffs, which is a little staggering to me that at one point they were down at 10%. But they do, like, we've been critical, and they should never have lost the Montreal game.
No.
But they do have points in their last 6 games. So for Ottawa, hoping that continues tonight. Tanner, tough opponent in Nashville to kind of get a read on. They feel like they're quite average, but trying to stay in. They're 3 points behind both the Kraken, the Sharks, and the Kings. They're 3 points behind all of those teams. The Kraken sit in that playoff spot, but they are tied with San Jose and LA, who are out on percentages right now. So Nashville really needs a win tonight to be able to kind of stay with some of those other teams that they are trying to catch.
Yeah. And I think if you would have asked me about this game a week ago, I probably would have told you similar game probably to the Columbus one. Maybe we're going to see some low event hockey here. But I think not only after the loss that they had the other night, there's actually another big storyline going into this game for the Preds. And that is their captain, Roman Josi, is playing his 1000th NHL game tonight.
So basically we have a longer time to talk here because the game won't start for like 28 minutes for a ceremony for Roman Josi. So.
Yeah, so they're probably going to have a little extra pep in their step tonight. I do wonder if the Josi Tkachuk thing from the home opener at all comes to blows.
I'm so glad you brought that up because, see, Zach, Tanner's getting the hang of this show because I literally had on my notes, like, before we go into it, what do you think? Like, is this going to be some sort of retribution? But, okay, so what do you think, Tanner? Important game for both teams. Is that enough to get Brady to not do something?
I don't know, because I still with Brady's hand, I don't know how much he can do if he even wanted to. Maybe a hit or something, but it's really hard to get the read on. I'm sure some chirps are going to be thrown Yosi's way, but it was a while ago. Maybe these teams are beyond that at this point. Like, looking on that at that Predators lineup, I like the Senators a lot more on paper, but you got to wonder. There's some other guys that could be willing to drop the gloves there too and come to their captain's defense. Looking at a guy like Michael McCarron that centers their fourth line.
So, Zach, this would be a game where I would expect, to me, leading as the captain, you're Brady Tkachuk. You can't do something. You can't. Like, because you can't take yourself off the ice in another important game for that long to get retribution on the first game of the year that happened.
No.
I don't think that's plausible, but do I think Brady would do something behind somebody's back and think that the referee's not looking and get an extra something in? Yes.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes,
I would see
yes,
that.
I do.
But yeah, this is not one of those games for him to do that. I think the Sens are just in a key stretch right now where they kind of need him on the ice. If they, like, I know you mentioned earlier about the 40% there in terms of playoff chances. So that obviously plays a factor, but yeah, I in this case right now with the way that the Sens are playing have been pretty well, all things considering, to where we were a few weeks ago. I think it's a total tonal shift when it comes to the Ottawa Senators. Still not 100% perfect, obviously, but I think you still need Brady Tkachuk out on the ice whenever you can.
Yeah, and I think Ethan's pointing it out here. Travis Green spoke a lot about discipline today as well, which is something that really hurt the team over the weekend, especially.
Oh, man.
So,
yeah,
you got to hope that Brady will be the leader in that, but I'm sure he's going to give Josi a good face wash if he gets the chance in a scrum tonight.
Yeah.
And the discipline thing to me is a big deal to see whether they can actually do that, because I always fear when Tanner, it's like Zach on This Is Wrestling. If he gets away with a couple of things, he takes advantage, and it's more and more and more until the hammer finally has to come down. But I watch Ridley Gregg, and I watch Shane Pinto, and I watch some of these guys that should have been penalized. They both should have been kicked out of the game on the weekend against Detroit. They both stayed in the game, and Pinto's getting the tying goal, and like both of them should have been kicked out. Undisciplined play. And it's great for the coach to say, you know what, you guys need to be more disciplined and wag his finger. But if they're not getting penalized, I wonder if they continue to do it or if they really get the message that it's not okay. I don't know. I'll be eager to see it, though.
Yeah, you just have to hope that they don't hurt people.
They hurt people, Lee.
Who does, Zach? I'm not sure what you're talking about. I got Tanner's reference. I don't know what you're speaking about. What?
Talk about the Hurt Syndicate there, Lee.
Oh, okay.
They hurt people.
They're not hurting anybody right now because they're not on, which is not hurting my eyes at all.
Man.
So again, one of the things I think you have to talk about with this team continually, though, is when you're on the road, especially Ottawa, can you stay out of the penalty box? So it is no wonder he's talking about discipline, because it's not just those guys. It's the fact that 28% of the time, 28% of the time, teams get a power play. All year long, they score. Like, come on.
Yeah.
And this is where I feel like Ethan and other people will be like, Lee, it's only 27.9.
Round it up. Round it up.
Yes, I know. It's only 27.9. But about 28% of the time, teams are getting power plays, they're scoring all year long. So if you're taking like more than 3 penalties in a game, you're absolutely giving up a power play goal tonight. That's mind-boggling to think that it's that bad. So they're going to have to try and stay out of the box tonight as well. I'm not trying to hype up a game of 2 non-playoff teams on a Thursday night, but I am trying to tell you that for both teams, Nashville 3 points out of a playoff spot, Ottawa 5 points out of a playoff spot, and especially what Ottawa's got coming up. I don't know that in the next 3 games that anybody would have a tougher schedule than Carolina, Vegas, and Colorado. Like that's not, so the importance of tonight's game for both teams is if they were playing Utah, I'd say it's mammoth, but I would not do that in a game like this. So,
I was going to say, Lee, of those 3 games, what's like worse? Like that 3-game stretch or the 3 stages of hell we saw between Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre?
We do go back to wrestling a lot and think that, a stage of hell is a normal wrestling match. So
correct.
Like
first of all, normal professional wrestling
but
match.
Maybe that translates to Saturday's just a normal game against the Carolina Hurricanes.
Maybe.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe
not, but
well, maybe you're thinking
so.
Maybe you're thinking that stages of hell would be that Vegas is coming to Ottawa on Sunday afternoon, and there's another 15 to 20 centimeters coming of snow to Ottawa that day, and Vegas will not be prepared. That's a stage of hell for them to come to a place that it's snowing that much, and they won't be ready. I don't know.
What do you got for the Avs? I'll take anything for that.
No, they're probably going to get their ass kicked.
Don't survive if they let you.
Right. Exactly. Survive if they let you. All right. Let's go around the horn here. And Zach McGibbon, our Belleville B-Sens, because we're allowed to say B-Sens. I almost went back at you again because you did say Ottawa Sens once more, but you're in such a good train of thought, and I was going to interrupt you again, and I didn't want to do that because,
that would be mean.
Yeah, well, it interrupted your nice flow of a thought, and it was your only coherent thought all show long. So I didn't want to interrupt you when it came to that. But
again, 3 hours of recording, lead. This is the best you're getting.
Our B-Sens on the spot reporter. What do you think is going to happen tonight with the Ottawa Senators and the Nashville Predators?
I am going to predict, because as you know, I am just a master of predictions. So assume it's going to be the opposite that will happen in terms of my predictions. But I do think the Sens are going to get another win here tonight. I think they're going to be coming out ready to play. I think it will be, I'm going to say a 3-2 Sens victory here tonight.
3-2, low scoring. Okay.
Yeah.
Tanner, the over-under is 6.5 in this game, which would put it well under if it only went 3-2. What about you tonight?
Again, you asked me a week ago, I probably would have said low event hockey, but we just had that the other night. And I think Nashville's also going to have some pep from Yossi. And I think the Sens realized the gravity of this weekend. So I think they're going to come out flying as well. I think I'm going to take the over on that 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm somewhere around maybe a 5-3, 5-4, something around there. Could be a 4-3, but I think we're going to hit that over, and I think it will be a Sens win.
So you're both picking the Ottawa Senators to win. On the actual odds for the game, who do you think is favored in this game? Zach,
That'd be close.
Start with you.
I'll say Nashville is the favorite, but a small favorite.
Small favorite. Tanner?
I would probably guess the same.
The Ottawa Senators, slight favorites.
Okay.
Tonight. It's slight, -115. So it's usually if it's -110, -110, that's literally a pick 'em. So the Senators are very slight favorites with the over under at 6.5. I'm like you, Tanner. I feel another over coming on. I just don't think James Reimer's got it in him to, 1 goal or 2 goals against a team on the road that really needs a victory and is a much better team than the Columbus Blue Jackets. And Ottawa can score, and they know that they need to score. So I like Nashville in this game, but I do feel like it's close, and I do think it could go to OT as well. I got 4-3 Nashville in this game, which would put it over as well. It could be 5-3 with the empty net, but looking forward to seeing, again, you say this a lot, but the effort. Can the Ottawa Senators look like this game matters to them going into what is going to be a very, very difficult stretch of hockey when they're trailing and they need every point that they can get? They know what's in front of them, and they know how important getting 2 points going into that next 3-game stretch is, and how much it will set them up. This is overtime. Comes up right after the game tonight. Tanner, you're going to be here. Will we get Zach McGibbon back? I don't know, but it's been a long day. He's had lots of really important water meetings or something. I don't know what's going on in Belleville.
It was a water infrastructure funding announcement that I covered today in Belleville. So I know it's as exciting as it sounds. So
I actually think water meeting was fairly close.
Yeah,
they're putting a new sewer in. That's crazy. It's Belleville's third one.
Tanner, it's by the stop sign that is in Belleville. It's a big deal.
I still have heat with Le Champion, just totally taking that out of context. First of all, I didn't even write that story. Okay, let's just put that up on the record right now. I didn't even write that story. And secondly, it was way more than just the stop sign fell in Belleville. It was all about the weather and how it was just a windy day that day. So look,
you're not helping your story.
No, I'm not.
I can tell you.
No, I'm not. But I want to make it clear I didn't write it. Okay. So
it was a windy day. There was lots of stuff going on. There was wind.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a windy day. What can I say? I mean, you were the one that looked at the story with great intrigue, and I have to explain what the story was.
Yeah.
So that's how it rolls. And by the way, it wasn't Belleville, it was Sterling. I had to travel down to Sterling for this water infrastructure funding announcement.
Yeah. I'm not sure where Sterling is in comparison to Belleville, but I don't want to ask because then I'd have to listen to the answer.
I was just going to give you an answer too.
I know.
Good that you cut me off. I was going to be like, so on the map here, if you go north and you go,
right.
It's a 20-minute drive, Lee.
Take a left at the Big Apple.
That's right. No, that's further down there, Tanner.
That's Coburg.
That's no, not even Coburg, Lee. It's
Colburn.
Colburn.
I do often mix up Colburn and Coburg. What I will tell people is another kind of bet that I'm looking at tonight. You're getting almost like even odds for a point for Drake Batherson tonight. And I feel like he's just a guy that's rolling. 1 point for Drake Batherson, and you're basically at minus 125. Like, it's almost even money. That's for me. I look at that and look at other guys tonight and go, yeah, he's a guy when they need some scoring. If I'm expecting 7 or 8 goals in this game combined between the two teams, that Drake Batherson's a guy to me that seems to get on the score sheet. And just looking at another angle tonight. All right, Zach, always great to hear from you. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate the insights from Belleville, and I'm sure you will be back here very soon.
Yeah, you never know. Give me the call. If there's any other call-ups that are coming in, I'll give you the scoops. If you want some Yakimchuk talk, I could bring that as well.
Oh, Zach, that's a whole other show, okay? Carter Yakimchuk.
Yes. He did return to the lineup this past Sunday, so he had one of his better games I've seen from him in Belleville, so that is a good sign.
Tanner, this is overtime. It's on right after the game. I see you got your coffee. You're going to be ready to go.
Oh, I'm fired up, Lee.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
enjoy the game, folks. And this is overtime on OSN. Follows immediately right after the Senators and the Predators tonight. We look forward to you being with us. This is overtime after the game on OSN.